Normally, Tuesday afternoons and Tuesday nights don't produce the kind of storylines that we saw generated on a Tuesday. Ravens and the Cowboys played on Tuesday Night Football. Dez Bryant declares that he's done because he didn't get to play in the game. The Eagles bench Carson Wentz in favor of Jalen Hurts. And the Cowboys are an abject disaster. Don't you just love Tuesdays? Who else could it be? Me, your man, Louie T. Welcome to the 119th installment of the LouieTeeNetwork podcast. I, of course, am your set man, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Got some Tuesday night football yesterday, and the game was kind of anticlimactic. You got exactly what you thought you were going to get. We talked about that last night on the overtime show. Cowboys, they put up a little resistance. They were up 10-7 in that game. But when it was all said and done, the Ravens ran away and won the game 34-17. They were the superior team, almost rushed for 300 yards. And I think what was the most glaring part of that game was just the ineptitude of the Cowboys defense. And it's been a problem all season long, but it continues to rear its ugly head. And Mike McCarthy after the game said, look, we had extra time to prepare for this game. Remember, they had played last on Thanksgiving. So they were supposed to play on Thursday Night Football. This game was scheduled for Thursday Night Football. They don't play it until Tuesday. So in essence, they almost had a full 2 weeks to prepare for the Ravens. And that's the effort that they put out there. And he said, look, I'm just going to tell you right now, this isn't a coaching issue. What you saw on the field tonight from a defensive standpoint, not a coaching issue. Really? So essentially what you're doing is you're saying, hey, it's the players. I want to see how that's going to go over in the Cowboys locker room. That should be fun when they start sticking mics in those guys' faces and they hear that their coach pretty much threw them under the bus. It's a mess in Dallas right now, and I love it. I'm here for all of it. I am absolutely front row seat for all of it. Anyway, the Eagles bench Carson Wentz. We're going to talk about that ad nauseum here in a second because there's so many layers to this situation. It's such a really polarizing situation in Philadelphia because A, you're talking about the quarterback. B, you're talking about a guy that they just paid a bunch of money to. And C, it's a situation where we know this guy can play. And I'm definitely fascinated with that situation. And in the Dez Bryant situation last night. Yeah, how about that? That was crazy, right? You know what? All of that stuff and more I want to talk about in the gym dropping session. So let's get to the gym dropping session, shall we? Yeah, let's do that. Let me drop this gem on your melon. Open your mind, let your conscience be free. You're now rolling with your man, Louie T double E. Let me open you up. Get you thinking a little bit. So, I want to start with the main attraction, and that's Carson Wentz getting benched in Philadelphia. I was wrong about that situation because I told you guys that I thought that the benching would come the following week. Okay, not this week against New Orleans, but the following week. I said, I think Doug Peterson is going to give Carson Wentz one more chance to prove himself because I didn't think he really wanted to do this. And I said, if Wentz doesn't perform well in the first half versus New Orleans, you're going to see a quick hook. You're going to see Jalen Hurts come in. And then from that point forward, it's Jalen Hurts' show the remainder of the season. That's what I predicted would take place. I was wrong. They pulled the trigger this week. He announced Jalen Hurts as the starter for the upcoming game versus the Saints. I don't love this spot for Jalen Hurts. We'll see what he does with this opportunity against a really quality Saints defense that's playing at a very high level out of necessity with no Drew Brees in the lineup. So it's a fascinating development in Philadelphia, and it's a long fall from grace for Carson Wentz, and that's really where I want to start this conversation. We'll find our way to Jalen Hurts and what I think is going to happen in this start and how we got to this point, but I want to start with Wentz because, one, Carson Wentz, for as bad as he's been this season, he's not a terrible quarterback. He's lacking confidence. Anybody that knows football knows what they're watching with Wentz right now. And it kind of started last year when he had no receivers and he was throwing it to to Greg Ward at the end of the year, and he drugged this team. I mean, literally strapped them to his back, and he drugged this entire miserable offense to the playoffs last year. And everyone was lauding and praising him for taking Greg Ward and a bunch of nobodies to the playoffs and winning the division. And it was a valiant effort last year. And I think he felt like, oh my God, I've got to do this again. The offensive line is in shambles before the season even gets started. We don't have Alshon Jeffrey. Deshaun Jackson's banged up again. Jalen Reagor's out again. And he was, he started the season, did Reagor, and then he was out quickly thereafter. And so now I'm looking at Hightower and Fulgham and, and all of these young guys that, Quez Watkins and Greg Ward again. Like, I can't, at least he had his tight ends for a while there. Then he loses, Dallas Goedert for a little while. Then Ertz goes down and you're like, well, shit. Not to mention Miles Sanders goes down and you're like, well, God damn, what is he supposed to do? Right? So in his mind, he's thinking, here we go again, Carson. We got to carry this thing again. We got to do this by ourselves. We don't have any help. And I think he went into full carry the team mode like he did last year, except this time it didn't work. And he started making mistakes and they started losing ball games and it started to become his problem. And it became Carson Wentz isn't taking care of the football. Carson Wentz is getting sacked too much. And you could see that each week with every loss, every poor performance, every turnover, every sack, the confidence dwindled more and more and more and more until you got to a point where even when some of the weapons came back, they weren't winning games and he wasn't playing any better. Now, I can tell you this. The coaching staff hasn't done him any favors, especially his head coach, Doug Peterson. The play calling at times has been abysmal. They haven't run it enough. And he's gone for it on fourth down and went for too many times this season. But that's nor here nor there. That's a different conversation for a different day. You know how I feel about Doug Peterson and his decision-making process throughout the course of a game. At the end of the day, Carson Wentz is pressing. And he's trying to do too much. And we've talked about the whole sack thing where he's holding on to the football too long. We know guys like him, okay? Guys that don't ever want to give up on a play. They think they can always make something happen. And Josh Allen is that way. Joe Burrow is that way. We see guys like that all the time that want to continue to make plays and they don't know when to say when. That's not uncommon in this league. He's not the only guy doing that. The problem is you can't compound a play that's already bad and make it worse. And that's what he wasn't doing in the past was he wasn't taking bad plays and making them worse. That's what he's doing this year. He's taking a bad play. There may not be anybody open and there may be a little bit of pressure. He may hold on to it too damn long and the pressure's coming. And instead of him throwing it away, he's taking a sack. And so now instead of it being 2nd and 10, or him running it because he's very capable of using his legs and getting 2 or 3 yards and making it 2nd and 7, it's now 2nd and 18. Well, you just killed the drive. And instead of him saying, okay, let's see if we can't get to 3rd and 9, now on 2nd and 18, he's trying to get it all back. And now he's throwing an interception. And that's where the problem lies with Carson Wentz. But let's take it a step further, though, because there was so much to make about them drafting Jalen Hurts in the 2nd round last year. And what is Howie Roseman doing? And he's the worst. And this, that, and the third. And I said, hey, guys, this isn't a replacement for Carson Wentz. This is an insurance policy. And it's a damn good one. Everybody needs life insurance. You need car insurance. It's a big ripoff. Car insurance really is. Because all insurances really are, except for life insurance. Because at the end of the day, you don't need insurance until you need insurance, right? You're paying for car insurance. If you don't get any car accidents, you don't have anything go wrong, you don't need it. But when something does happen, you're like, man, I'm glad I got that damn car insurance. Shit came in handy this time, didn't it? And so that's all Jalen Hurts was supposed to be. An investment in a 2nd round pick that you say, look, I know you're not keen to wasting 2nd round picks. Don't look at it as a wasted 2nd round pick. Look at it as insurance. You don't necessarily want it, right? You don't want insurance. Nobody wants to pay $75, $125 a month that you can't actually see the tangible effects of your $125 every month. Nobody wants to do that. However, when you get in that car accident, you need a loaner car to get to work every day, and you need to be protected. And you need your medical expenses paid for, and you need all that stuff taken care of. You say, man, I'm glad I paid that goddamn insurance. Same thing here. Carson Wentz gets hurt every year. That was a known fact. You know, he was getting hurt every single year, and in the past, they had Nicholas Foles to step in, so it wasn't a big deal. If he gets hurt, so what? We got Nicholas Foles, he'll carry the load. Well, this time around, last year, what happened? There was no Nicholas Foles. There was Josh McCown, 897-year-old Josh McCown. You lost a playoff game because you didn't have an insurance policy last year. So this year, Howie Roseman said, I won't get caught sleeping this year. I'll have an insurance policy in case Carson Wentz goes down. This wasn't supposed to be, hey, we're trying to push Carson here, trying to make him aware of the fact that he's got to play better. That wasn't what this was supposed to be. And I know you may not be keen on spending a second-round pick for an insurance policy, but that's the guy they pegged as the right insurance policy, and I didn't have a problem with it because I knew what it was for. Now, you fast forward, and this is something else you have to take into consideration. Carson Wentz's his psyche is fragile. Why? Because this is a guy that, since he's been in Philadelphia, he's been trying to establish himself as the guy. You know, and there have been different times in history where he's had something happen that has undermined him in his quest to be the guy that everybody looks to in Philadelphia. And the first chink in the armor was the whole report that guys don't really care for Carson Wentz in the locker room. He's not a great leader, and there were these anonymous reports, and you're like, really? And we didn't know, and I don't know if there was any validity to it or not, but it was out there. And then you hear Doug Peterson say, hey, I've talked to Carson about becoming a better leader, really interacting with the players, because from all, reports, he's a guy that kind of kept to himself. He had his little clique in the locker room. He's a big-time Christian. So it was a small group of guys in that locker room that he was really fond of. And that was really it. Well, as a quarterback, you have to find a way to connect with everybody, especially on the offensive side. So there was that. Then there was, of course, 2017. He's out there. He's balling. He's on a pace to be the MVP of the league. He gets hurt in Los Angeles versus the Rams. Foles comes in, wins the Super Bowl, and nobody's talking about Carson Wentz. As a matter of fact, there's this conversation. Should they start Nicholas Foles that next year? And should they get rid of Carson Wentz? Should they keep Foles and get rid of Wentz? They just won a Super Bowl with Foles. Forget about Wentz. There was a lot of that conversation going on. So now this man, and Doug Peterson said, stop all of that nonsense. Wentz is the guy. We drafted him. We traded up to get him. This is our guy. All right. And again, when I talk about that fragile psyche, remember what they did for Carson Wentz when he first got there in his rookie season. Remember what they did. They got rid of Sam Bradford. Let's remove all obstacles in this man's way. We got Chase Daniel. We got Sam Bradford. We got all the quarterbacks we need so this guy doesn't have to play. And you know what they said? Sam, you're out of here. We're going to trade you to Minnesota for a first-round pick. Chase, you were the number 2 guy. You're now you're going to stay number 2. Carson's going to come all the way from 3 to number 1. They removed all obstacles for him. Nothing was in his way. Here comes Nicholas Foles in, saves the day, wins the Super Bowl, and now that complex comes all the way back again. Like, oh, man, I had it made, and now they want him instead of me. So he gets hurt again in 2018. Guess who comes in and saves the day? Nicholas Foles. Gets them hot at the end of the season. They win. They go to Chicago. They win in the playoffs, and they're literally an Alshon Jeffrey drop away from potentially beating the Saints in the Superdome and getting back to the NFC Championship game. Nicholas Foles did that. And so now everybody's looking at Wentz and saying, I don't know, man. Foles is the guy, man. Nick is the dude. And they say, all right, let's put all of that to bed. We're not bringing back Nicholas Foles. He goes to Jacksonville. They give Wentz the big deal just to make sure that everybody knows this is our guy. Removed all the obstacles again. All right, so nothing in his way. No quarterback there looking over his shoulder. None of that. He's free to go out and be Wentz again. And they go out in 2019, and he has a hell of a season, and he puts this team on his back, and he takes them to the playoffs, and he gets hurt early in the playoff game. Call it dirty, whatever you want to call it. Shot from Clowney. He misses the rest of that game. They got to bring in Josh McCown. Here we go again. McCown not able to do it. And Howie at that moment said, I got to have an insurance policy. But he didn't take into consideration what that would do to the psyche that's already fragile because he's trying to get out of the shadow of Nicholas Foles. Nobody's crediting Carson Wentz for that Super Bowl win. Nobody's saying, man, Wentz was outstanding and he put us in a position to get to that Super Bowl. All anybody wants to talk about is Nicholas Foles. So he's trying to get out of that shadow, and now you cast another shadow over him by bringing in. And again, that wasn't the purpose of the move by Howie Roseman, but that's the way it was perceived. We don't know about Wentz, so we're bringing in Hurts. That was never the case. It was just an insurance policy in case he got hurt. But Wentz didn't see it that way either. And we know the psyche of a quarterback is fragile. What did Tom Brady say? Remember how up in arms he was about getting suspended and how quickly he wanted to get back when Jimmy Garoppolo was winning games during that 4-game suspension that he had for Deflategate, and how insecure he was? It's not just a Carson Wentz thing, it's a quarterback thing. They don't want to see another guy getting their reps, winning games with their guys out on the football field. So Wentz all of a sudden now is looking over his shoulder. Why did they draft this guy? Why did they feel the need to draft this guy? He's going to try to take my place like Nick Foles did. That's not why they drafted him. So he goes out and he's trying to prove to not only the fan base, but more importantly, the organization that I'm the guy. You don't need anybody else. So now he's pressing. Not to mention the offensive line is a mess. The receivers are all banged up. My tight ends are out of the lineup. The running back position is in flux, and we're not running the football any damn way, so it really doesn't matter. And he feels like he's got to do it himself. And he's got to prove all the naysayers wrong, including the organization for drafting a quarterback in the second round when you could have used that draft pick to get me some more talent. All of that stuff rolled into one gets Carson Wentz to where he is now, struggling and now out of the lineup, benched in favor of Jalen Hurts. So now Hurts has a very unique opportunity these final 4 games of the season. If he's able to play extremely well, now I don't anticipate the Eagles getting hot with Jalen Hurts and winning 4 straight and winning the NFC East. It's not out of the realm of possibility. Okay, they still play the Cowboys, do the Eagles. So in essence, they still got a shot down the stretch, but they'd have to win out and they'd have to have help because right now they're back a game and a half. So they'd have to win out and they'd need a little bit of help. But that's nor here nor there. It's just about how he plays, how he comes out and he plays. And you expect some mistakes. He threw an interception against Green Bay at the end of that ball game. You're going to get mistakes from a young quarterback. But it's how he manages the game. Does he give them a chance? This defense in Philadelphia isn't that bad, okay? They're capable of keeping that team in games, but the mistakes that Carson Wentz makes on a weekly basis, it's just too much to bear. It's too much to overcome. So if he comes in, he's able to use his legs, he's able to make throws when they're there, and he's able to minimize the mistakes. I think no matter what happens, unless he is just awful, just god-awful, they're going to have a quarterback controversy, and there will be a camp battle next year to see who starts. My money's on Carson Wentz, and this benching may be the best thing for him at this time, is for him to just take a step back, exhale, and if Hurts plays poorly, that's all he needs to see is that, hey, this guy's really not a threat to me. He really isn't. If he plays well, interesting to see what it does to his psyche. You know, maybe he says, oh my God, this guy really can take my job from me. So I don't really know. There's one or two ways this could go. Either Wentz can grow from this benching, come back stronger because of it, and become a better quarterback and get back to being one of the young up-and-coming quarterbacks in this league that we thought he was going to be. Or this demotion can crumble him. It could cripple him mentally, and he never recovers from this in Philadelphia. Now, mind you, nobody's trading for Wentz in this current state. So you can't get rid of him. You can't say, well, got a lot of money here on the books. We'd love to move him. Let's say Hurts knocks it out of the park. and down these four games of the season. And again, that's to me not enough to try to get rid of Wentz, even if because we've seen Drew Lock last year, we saw Dwayne Haskins last. It's not enough to get rid of a guy. Just these last 4 games of the season, this small sample size. But let's just say that somebody calls him up and says, "Hey, we'll give you XYZ for Carson Wentz," and the Eagles are like, "Man, in his current condition, that's not a bad deal." And Jalen Hurts showed us that he's capable of being our starter moving forward, and they pull the trigger. I think Wentz could rekindle his career somewhere else, but they're not getting from under this contract. Nobody's giving them anything for Carson Wentz where he is right now from a mental standpoint. He's struggling. And that contract, they can't get from under it for another 2 or 3 seasons. So that's a rough situation to be in if you're Philadelphia. We'll see what Wentz does. This is really, really interesting stuff. Now, you go to the Cowboys. I talked about this last night, so I don't really need to elaborate on this too much. But the Cowboys are interesting because I think they're on the precipice of a mutiny out there with the way that their situation is going with the coaching staff, with the players, and with the lack of leadership. It seems like that they have in that locker room. There's a lot going on there, but put all of that stuff aside. What are they going to do at quarterback? We talk about the Eagles and their quarterback situation. What are they going to do at quarterback? They got a hell of a decision on their hands because, as I talked about last night, and again, I don't want to really elaborate because I did enough of it last night, they're going to finish with a top 7 pick more likely than not of the Cowboys. And they could use the cash that will be freed up from not signing Dak Prescott to a long-term deal. They could use the cash. And remember, not only could they use the cash, the cap more likely than not is shrinking. It's not growing like it normally does in a normal offseason. Because of COVID-19, the cap is believed to be shrinking next year. So the teams that were already up against it are going to be up against it even more so next season. And the Cowboys are always up against the cap. So this is really interesting to see what they decide to do. Because I think they're going to have a top 7 pick. And they're going to have an opportunity to take one of these young, talented quarterbacks and a much cheaper option and move on from Dak Prescott. What are they going to do? Dak's coming off of an injury. You already franchise tagged him once. You cannot afford to do it again. Something's got to give. They've got some TDs on their hands, as I mentioned, and none bigger than the quarterback position in Dallas. I think Jerry's going to stick with the decision to hire Mike McCarthy. I'm not one for a one and done situation with coaches a lot of times, but man, is that really messy in Dallas. Anyway, I digress. And then how about Dez Bryant last night, man? Dez was all in his feelings last night. So he was out before the game. He was hyped. He was ready to go. He was like, yeah, man, we about to get it. About to get out here, get against these boys. I'm about to do them. He was out there, had his headphones on, his little mask on, getting a nice little lather up. He was ready. And then he finds out 2 hours before the game. Your test was a little sketchy there, man. We're going to need you to take this little quick test real quick just to make sure everything's fine, man. We just want to make sure you're good. And he takes the test. He's positive for COVID-19. And just like that, he can't play. And Dez got on socials. He was like, you know what? I'm done, man. I don't have time for this shit. I'm done. And I don't think he's done. We all saw this man crying, getting his opportunity to get back in the league and all that. Like, there's nothing worse. And I said this last night. The NFL, they give a lot of guys second chances, man. All kinds of guys, with all kinds of allegations and things in their background that isn't pretty, they've given second chances to a lot of players, right? One thing the league does not really care for too much, and they frown upon, is quitters. Man, you can do a lot of things. You can go on a high-speed chase with a kid in the backseat, as Sheldon Richardson did. You can get all the DUIs you want, and have some issues there. Robbie Anderson comes to mind when you're talking about that. You can even have some issues with some domestic situations that, either are unfounded, but there are enough of them. Like Reuben Foster. if you're talented, you get opportunities in this league. But the one thing you don't get another chance from in this league, hell, Kareem Hunt, we saw a film of him kicking a female. And you know what? It is what it is. Situations are different. You know, I believe in second chances. I do. You know, as long as you're remorseful, you understand what you did wrong, you repent for what you've done, I'm all for second chances. But one thing the NFL really doesn't care too much for, and they frown upon strongly, is a quitter. You quit. I can't deal with that. If Dez Bryant actually decides he doesn't want to play football anymore, and I don't believe him. I think he was in his feels at the end of that game. You know, when he couldn't play. And he really, of all the games on the schedule for the Ravens left, this was the one. If he didn't play in another game this season, this was the one he wanted to play in the most. And he didn't get a chance to play in it. So I think he was in his feelings. If he decides he's done this year, the Ravens are done with him, and take it a step further, the league is done with him. You don't cry to get back in the league. Don't cry about, oh man, I just want a chance. And you keep putting out all these workout videos about how you're in great shape and you can help a team. And you finally get an opportunity, and because you test positive for COVID, and I don't know what you did, and I told you, I don't give a shit. I don't care what you did, how you got it. And, you know, it's been running rampant in that Ravens organization, so he could have easily gotten it inside of the organization, for all we know. At the end of the day, you contracted COVID-19. It's your fault. So, at the end of the day, if you decide you don't want to play anymore because you got to sit out a game or two, and the Ravens are willing to have you back after the COVID situation is cleared up and your tests come back negative and you are able to be activated off the COVID-19 list, and you don't want to play anymore, you're done. And nobody wants to hear from you after that. When you come to your senses and you realize you still want to play, nobody cares. So if you're going to make this decision, and I still think he was in his feelings and he'll come to his senses and he'll realize that he still wants to play football. He was just upset in the moment. If he sticks to the decision he made last night, which is that he's done, then you're done. And I hope you're at peace with that decision, because nobody else is going to give you a chance. This was it anyway. So I find that to be really interesting there. But I don't think anything's going to come of it. So with that being said, let's get to social media maneuvers. This is where I turn the show over to you, the viewers out there. If you're out there and you haven't already done so, first and foremost, make sure you subscribe to the Louie T Network for more great content. So hit that subscribe button. Turn on that notification bell, because as you know, as you just saw, I can go live at any time. You don't know when these podcasts are coming your way. Got a lot of stuff going on, and so I try to squeeze them in when I can. Turn on that notification bell so when I do go live, you're ready to go. You'll be right there, locked and loaded when that show starts. So hit that like button too. If you're out there and you haven't hit that like button already, hit that like button. Show your man Louie T some support, man. I really appreciate you guys out there. But if you're watching this and you got a comment and it's pertinent, use the hashtag LouieTLive to have your comment read on the air, as I will try to get through as many of these as possible. If you want to jump straight to the front of the line, you know super chats are the way to do that. Now, let's get to the comment section and see what you guys have to say. Got a comment here from Juan Gotti Talking Sports. My man Juan Gotti says, Gibby has turf toe like we expected, but it does not seem like it's season ending like we feared. Word is he can get a shot and be good to go, but I feel like we should hold him until the Panthers game. Turf toe is tough. Yeah, you can numb it, but and that's essentially what you would be doing. You would be giving him a cortisone shot to numb it, but I'm not a big fan of numbing my big toe. And if I'm Gibby, I wouldn't allow them to numb the big toe. All right. I feel like you gotta absolutely go with a situation of, I just feel better and I think I can play. So I think you're going to see a situation where you got to be able to let this guy heal up. And I don't think you're going to see him for the next, at minimum, I don't think he's back for the next 2 weeks. I wouldn't be shocked if it's the next 3 weeks and you don't see him until the final game of the season. But, you know, we'll see. Obviously, he's a young guy, and young guys heal faster than the veterans in this league. And, you know, he probably wants to play really bad, and he sees where this season is going. He wants to be a part of it. I'm thinking long-term future with him. I'm not looking for the short-term gain. I don't want him having some kind of situation where this becomes a problem throughout his career. We'll see what happens. They just need to handle this correctly. I know you want to win now. You're chasing after a division, but this guy's a part of the future. Just make sure you're careful with Antonio Gibson. Juan Gotti, Talking Sports, also says, do you think we should trade for Sam Darnold? Because he was not allowed to develop in a dysfunctional organization, because he was allowed to develop in, or you said because he was not allowed to develop in a dysfunctional organization, he can come here and sit behind Alex. What do you think? I'm lukewarm. So, first of all, we're changing the culture in Washington, but our organization is still viewed as a dysfunctional organization as well now. As fans, we think that we're starting to turn the corner with Ron Rivera and things are getting done. But there's still that dark cloud over the organization. The Washington Post is trying to dig up some more dirt on Daniel Snyder, and they're trying to get records that were sealed previously of a lawsuit to be unsealed, and it looks like they were successful. So we could have some more dirt coming our way. So this dysfunctional, it still applies to Washington. But if you're just talking about in the locker room, if you're not just talking about the organization as a whole, you're talking about in the locker room, behind Alex would be a great spot for him to nurture and grow. But if you trade for Sam Darnold, I don't know if you're trading for him to sit. If you're trading for Sam Darnold, I think you're trading for him to play. So, I don't know. It's an interesting development. I don't know how much he would cost you. Obviously, he's on a rookie deal, and he was a top 10 pick, so he's probably going to be making some good money these final 2 years of his rookie contract. You'd have to pick up the fifth-year option, obviously, and then you'd have to pay him if you really like him, and you wouldn't have a ton of time to find out how good he is, and if you really do like him, because again, you got to remember, Sam Darnold is in year 3, so he would be going into year 4 if you traded for him. You'd have to find out in year 4 to pick up the fifth-year option if you love him. So you obviously you just pick up the fifth-year option if you're Washington. But if you don't play him, let's just say Alex Smith plays well in 2021 and he doesn't see the field, and then you decide to give him a chance in 2022. You just got 1 year, that 1 year in 2022 to figure out if Sam Darnold's the guy, and you would have given up no less than a second rounder. If I'm the Jets, I'm taking nothing less than a second rounder for him. And it's, you're going to have 1 season to figure out if you just gave up a second round pick for nothing. I don't know if that's the move you want to make if you're Washington. If you're going to trade for Sam Darnold, you got to play him right away, I think. You got to find out. You got 2 years to find out if this is the guy we want to extend a long-term deal to. And sitting behind Alex is really good. That's what I think. Sitting behind Alex is more advantageous for a rookie than it is a guy that's been in the league 3 years. So, I think Sam Darnold is a guy, if you trade for him, you're playing him. You're not sitting him behind Alex Smith. Got a comment here from Kevin, the PRF, says, Cowboys, Bengals, who you going to take? Me and Cowboys fans debating on who will lose out. If the Bengals had Joe Burrow, it's not even a discussion. But because the Cowboys still have Andy Dalton and the Bengals don't have a true starting quarterback, I'd take the Cowboys. And they do play each other, so I think the Cowboys are going to win that game. I forgot that they had that game because last night I was saying the only game that the Cowboys probably going to win is the game against the Eagles. They do have the Bengals left. They haven't played the Cincinnati Bengals yet, have the Cowboys, and so they should be able to win the game. The Bengals are a mess right now. Captain Spartan says, don't know if you saw this yesterday, but will still comment it again. Ravens currently have 5. I saw this. AFC losses. That's why I don't think I have the faith they will make the playoffs. They have to win out to make it. Well, I told you I think they're going to win out. So, you haven't changed my mind at all because I told you I thought they were going to win out. But you posed a real good scenario, which is, hey, look, the Dolphins. I think you said the Dolphins have 4 AFC losses and somebody else had 3. And so it's going to be tough. They've got to win out. But I remember, I never said 10-6 is going to get them in. I told you 11-5 or bust. I told you if they go 10-6, let's just say they lose to the Browns on Monday night. They're going to be in the line to get in the dance, and they're going to shut the door, and the Ravens are going to be like, hey, wait, but... And they're going to shut the door right in their face. So it's 11-5 or bust. They got to win out, and that's what I'm anticipating. Captain Spartan says, My AFC playoffs, Chiefs 1, Steelers 2, Bills 3, Titans 4. So you got the Titans winning the AFC South division. Browns 5, Colts 6, Raiders 7. Dolphins have extremely tough schedule ahead. I agree with that. And the Colts-Raiders game this weekend is huge. I got the Raiders. I think the Raiders are going to be the odd man out in your scenario. I think the Colts are going to be in. I think the Browns are going to be in as wild cards. I think the Dolphins and Raiders are out, and I think the Ravens replace those two teams and gets in as your 7 seed. And depending on where the Colts finish, that could be a good enough for the 6 seed, because remember, the Ravens head-to-head beat the Indianapolis Colts. So I think that may ultimately benefit them as well and get them to as high as the 6 seed. And the Colts would then drop to the 7 seed. Either way, you just want in. You don't care if you're the 6 or the 7. You just want in. Hank Midas says, is Bryce Love going to play? Bryce Love is out for the season, Hank. They put him on IR. They had 21 days to activate him. They didn't do it. He's on IR. We will not see Bryce Love until 2021. Captain Spartan says, quarterbacks are used to being the guy all their life. So if you tell them they aren't, they're probably going to feel like there's an extra chip on their shoulder. Hashtag pick 199, that being Thomas Brady. Now, yeah, they're used to being the guy their entire life, but, you know, you can't be afraid of competition as a quarterback. That should drive you. It should fuel you. But when you've got the stigma of this humongous shadow being cast over you of what Nicholas Foles did, he's going to go down in Eagles lore as Nicholas Foles, not Carson Wentz. That was in his mind, that was my Super Bowl that you took from me. That was my Super Bowl. Everyone should be talking about me. I should have big posters and big banners around here talking about what I did for this team. I was the one that got us off to that, 11-0 start to kick off the season or whatever it was. Or 13-0, whatever it was. I was the one playing at an MVP level. I was the one that got this team initially believing that we could do something special. You just picked up where I left off. And you're getting all the credit? That's how he felt. And to draft a guy after that really put him in a mental bind. He was thinking to himself, I got to prove myself again? I carried this team to the playoffs last year with Greg Ward at receiver. I got to do this again? You don't trust me? You went and got a quarterback in the second round? Really? That's the thanks I get? And instead of him taking it as, this is my team and I'm going to show you that this is my team, he pressed. He started to make mistakes and made decisions that weren't smart. It started in week 1 versus Washington. Those throws that got picked off, those weren't great plays by Washington. They were. But they were worse decisions and throws by Wentz. Let's see. Captain Spartan says, I think my Steelers will lose against Buffalo Sunday night, and after that we went out. We need Spillane to get healthy, though. Our best coverage inside linebacker, and it ain't even close. I've been really impressed with Spillane. Where the hell did you get him from? He just showed up out of nowhere. He's blitzing. He's covering guys. He's making plays. He had the pick 6 against Lamar Jackson. He's been exceptional this year. Where'd you get him from? That game on Sunday is going to be interesting, to say the least. Got another comment here from Kevin, the PRF, who writes, has Belichick figured it out? I was on the Pats, then off, now on. Their schedule says 2-2, 3-1. But could run the table if they're truly getting hot. I don't think Belichick has figured out anything. I think they've played some teams that they could beat. Like Arizona is one of the most inconsistent and frustrating teams in 2020. At one moment they're up and you're thinking, man, they could do some serious damage. The next minute they're losing to Detroit at home or Miami. And you're like, man, these guys are trash. So they've found teams that they can beat. Now, you got to give Belichick some credit. And I've already said that he has outkicked his coverage with this one. Like they have no business being at 6-6 with any kind of a shot making it to the postseason, none whatsoever. But I think you're right. 2-2, where you highlighted that at the beginning of your breakdown. You said 2-2, 3-1 in this. That's what they are. 2-2. They're 8-8. And they're going to miss the postseason. But the fact that they're 8-8 after starting the season off 2-5 speaks volumes. They had no business being where they are right now. But This is a hell of a job. Again, like I said, with Tomlin last year, when he went 8-8 with the Steelers, missed the postseason, it was his best coaching job of his career. This is arguably one of Belichick's best coaching jobs. If they go 8-8, I got nothing. I already have nothing but respect for Belichick. They go 8-8 with this group, this ragtag bunch, with all the injuries that they've had, and people opting out due to COVID. They go 8-8. He needs some votes for Coach of the Year. That's all I'm gonna say. Dustin Hobson says, still hyped about the Steelers win, ready for the 49ers. I as well. I'm watching the film, so it's bringing back all those warm and fuzzies right now. But by tomorrow, I'm ready to turn the page and start talking 49ers ball. We'll talk more of the Steelers game tonight. And we'll start talking about the 49ers. We're live tonight, so I'm pretty sure some of the conversation will bleed over to the 49ers game, and that's fine. But I still got the rest of the offensive film to comb over in the second half, and then the defensive film, and then I'm going to turn the page completely to San Francisco. Kevin, the PRF, says, why did the NFL bend over backwards for the Ravens but told the Broncos tough break, run the ball, bitches? So here's the thing. With the Broncos, they just had an isolated incident, right? It was just a quarterback room. So they could isolate those guys, send them home, and everybody else was fine and ready to go. There wasn't a true outbreak with the Broncos. See, with the Titans early in the season and with the Ravens here recently, there were outbreaks. Every day there were more positive tests. You couldn't contain it enough to say, hey, we can play a game today. So they had to keep pushing it back and pushing it back and pushing it back. That wasn't the case with the Broncos. It was just the quarterback room, and that was it. So after they were able to send those guys home, they were able to say, hey, everybody else is good. They've been tested multiple times. They've all been negative. So you could play the game. What they needed was 2 or 3 more positive tests, and that would have got the game postponed long enough so that they would have been able to say, hey, Drew Lock isn't positive. It's just contact tracer. He's good. He's negative. Blake Bortles is negative. He's good. He can go. So they just needed a couple more days, but they weren't afforded that because the NFL isn't looking to postpone any more games if they don't have to, and they didn't have to postpone that game. So it's a tough break, but they didn't have an outbreak. They just had it happen in one room. So they were able to pretty much say that whole room goes home. Everybody else can stay. Captain Spartan says, do you think the Giants should trade for Khalil Mack? He would complete that defensive line. He would, but are you really willing to give up what it's going to take? And are you willing to pay him what you're going to have to pay him? Because he's got a large contract, as we all know. If you're the Bears, are you really looking to give up the guy that you gave up 2 first-round picks for? Like, you're not getting 2 first-round picks back for him from the Giants, more likely than not. Are you really willing to give up Khalil Mack for 1 first-round pick after you gave up 2 for him? I don't think so. And I don't think the Giants would be willing to give up the compensation that it would take to get him. Honestly speaking, if you trust your general manager, go draft you a stud. Easier said than done, obviously. I know. Trust me, I know. Sneakerhead0528 says, that Washington football team front line is serious. Yes. Yes, it is. Zachary Managoba says, what should we do with Ryan Kerrigan, Landon Collins, Thomas Davis, and Jeremy Sprinkle? So Kerrigan's gone after the season, I believe, unless he's willing to take a team-friendly deal to stay and a reduced. This is the more important part. Not the money. It's about the snap count. It's about the playing time. He wants to play more. He thinks he's got a lot more to give. The youngins they're here to stay and they're taking over. And he's got to know next year we're not doing the whole platoon thing with you and Montez Sweat. Either you're going to accept that you're going to be playing, 15 snaps a game, or you got to go. And I think he's going to go. Landon Collins is going to be back. We're paying him too much money. We can't get from under that contract yet. Thomas Davis is gone. This is his last year. I think he's going to retire after this season. And Jeremy Sprinkle is on the last year of his deal. He's gone as well. Rich says, Lou, I'm with you. Being a guy who watches film, can we please give Jonathan Allen his praise? He has been a beast. It's just quarterbacks get the ball out so fast against us. He's been playing very well. Absolutely. I think the film is what does him some justice. When you're watching it on during the game. You're like, where's the pressure? Jonathan Allen, none of these guys are getting there. And it's easy to say that because the ball's getting out and it's getting completed. But when you watch the film, he's been playing exceptional football. He's been collapsing the pocket. He's been getting quick early wins, and the ball's been getting out quickly. He's been excellent in the run game. I thought he's been much better this season against the pass. I like Jonathan Allen a lot, man. I think this guy is a lot better than people are giving him credit for, and I want him back. I do want him back. I also want to see how much he's going to command on the free agent market, which, again, he's got one more year because we picked up the 5th-year option. So we're not really going to get to test that if we're going to sign him early. But I want to see what's going to happen with Jonathan Allen because I think they love him in the locker room as leader, and I think they really like what they're getting from him on the field as well. John Perez says, what should Atlanta do with Matt Ryan and Julio Jones? It just depends on what you feel like the future is. At one point, we thought Atlanta was going to end up a 3-win team this year, and they were too talented to do that. Falcons are going to end up being a 6-win team or something like that when it's all said and done. No worse than 5, more likely than not 6. And that's not going to put you in a position to draft one of the elite quarterbacks in this draft. But you can get you a quarterback if you're interested. They're going to end up with the 11th pick or something like that, 12. And if they are really with the shits and they want to rebuild, you got a new GM coming in, a new head coach, and you want that GM to pick the coach, and you want that coach to pick the quarterback, and the GM to pick the quarterback. Okay, then you can make something of this situation. You can move Matt Ryan, and you can get something for him. I don't care who is the new quarterback or he's staying with Matt Ryan. I'm not moving Julio Jones. Julio! I'm not moving him at all whatsoever. Any guy at quarterback can use Julio Jones, period. I don't think they're going anywhere. Personally, we'll see. Booker says, let's talk about the NFC East. It's between Washington and the Giants. Who do you have winning it? Giants have tough games coming up. Ravens, Browns, Cards. Washington has 49ers and the Hawks. I've already said my piece on that. I think Washington's going to win the division. I've already stated that. I think the Giants are going to lose against the Ravens. I think they're going to lose against the Browns. They could beat the Browns. They're going to lose one of these 2 games against the Browns or the Cardinals. All right, I can't really say they're going to lose both of those games. I think they're going to lose one of those games. And I'm 100% confident. I could be wrong. I can eat crow on this one, but I'm 100% confident they're going to lose to the Ravens. I already told you I think the Ravens are going to win out. So I think that's 2 losses right there. And then they've got Dallas one more time. That looks like a winnable game, but it's the NFC East. And if Dallas has a chance to make sure that those boys don't go to the playoffs, they're going to be playing their hearts out trying to make sure that those misery loves company. They'd love nothing more than to end the Giants season in Week 17. So we'll see what happens. But I've already been on record as saying I think Washington's going to win the division. So there's that. Let's see. We are here. Captain Spartan says, perfect coaches matches in my opinion. Falcons keep coach. Eagles get Bills offensive coordinator Brian Daboll. Bengals, and again, the Eagles, so you're assuming that they're going to fire Doug Peterson at the end of the season. Interesting. Bengals get Joe Brady. That makes a ton of sense. Obviously, the connection between Joe Burrow and Joe Brady is the thing that everybody's trying to draw a direct line to. Lions get Robert Saleh. They're already petitioning for him in Detroit. Bears, Iowa State head coach. Jags, Eric B. Texans, Colts defensive coordinator. Shucks. His name escapes me at the moment. And Jets get Northwestern head coach. Too many college coaches in here for me. One too many. I think you get one guy from the college ranks that comes into the NFL, if any. But too many college coaches in here for me, for my liking. But there are a lot of interesting developments here because even if you don't necessarily love his coaching pairings with these teams, what he's essentially telling you is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 teams will be looking for new head coaches. To me, that's the biggest takeaway. Not the fact that he thinks these coaches are going to be great fits for these teams. He's telling you that, we already got like 3 or 4 jobs that we know are going to be open. The Texans already fired Bill O'Brien. The Lions already fired Matt Patricia. The Jets are going to fire Adam Gase. The thought process is that the Jags are going to fire, oh, shucks. What is his name? I always want to call him Mike Mularkey. It's not Mike Mularkey. I can see his face. I can't think of his name. And the Lions have already fired Dan Quinn. So there are going to be plenty of openings, but the Eagles is interesting. I don't think they're going to fire Doug Peterson. The Bengals, I don't know if they're going to fire. Maybe they are going to fire. Oh, shucks. I can't remember his name either. But maybe they are going to fire their head coach. A lot of people thought he was in over his head. I didn't like the hire when they made it. Remember, that was the whole Sean McVay Me Too era where everyone was trying to get a guy that Zach Taylor is his name. I thought he was in over his head, but I don't know if they're going to move on from him after 2 years. I don't know if the Eagles are going to go and move on from Doug Peterson quite yet. And I don't even know if the Bears are going to fire Matt Nagy. That's interesting. I wouldn't be surprised if they did. I'd probably be more surprised if they did than if they didn't. So that's the interesting takeaway for me. And he says Chargers, Lincoln Riley. And so that's a 9th team. And I do think at the end of the season, the Chargers are going to move on from their head coach as well. So that's 9 openings, okay? Over a fourth of the league could be looking for new head coaches, according to my man, Captain Spartan. That's the interesting thing there. Hank Midas says, it's great to see the Eagles and Cowboys at the bottom and the Giants and Washington are at the top of the division. It is. It's because the Eagles and the Cowboys seem like they've been trading off for the last few years as the 2 best teams in the division. And now they've fallen on hard times, and it's fun to watch. Captain Spartan says, Spillane was undrafted in 2018, believe it or not, and we got him off the Titans practice squad in 2019. Interesting. And you know what? Now that you say that, I remember him in a Titans uniform, seeing the name Spillane in a Titans uniform. So that's very, very interesting, to say the least. JP says, how many coaching changes could we see made after the season? I think 7 right now. And you know what? I got a super chat. So let's get to that super chat. Harvey Mills, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My man Harvey writes, Yo, Lou, what's your gut say about Haskins' role in 2021? I see Haskins playing for a different team in 2021. Now, his role on that team depends on where he goes, but I don't see him in a Washington football team uniform in 2021. I could be wrong. And they could just run it back with the same 3 quarterbacks. Re-sign Kyle Allen, keep status quo with Alex Smith, and keep rolling with Dwayne. They could do that. But I think the more likely scenario is that they draft a young quarterback, they trade Dwayne, and they bring back Kyle Allen on a 1-year deal or a 2-year deal or something like that. Keep him in house as well. So if you ask me, Dwayne's role will be as a backup on somebody else's team learning, and they think that they can get him to become something down the road. That's how I see it right now, but we'll see. Got another super chat. This one is from Kevin, the PRF. Thank you for the super chat, Kev. Greatly appreciate you. My man Kev writes, so you think Kerrigan is gone? What backups you see us keeping? My nightmare scenario is Kerrigan, Settle, and Anderson all gone. I want to hit teams in waves. So what I think Kerrigan to me is definitely gone because he made it abundantly clear at the trade deadline that he wasn't getting enough snaps. He's gotten a ton more snaps since then, but the coaching staff, you're doing it at the expense of arguably your best defensive player in Montez Sweat. This has to stop. So next year, they don't want to deal with a veteran that thinks he needs to play more. And he's been great in mentoring Chase Young and Montez Sweat, but they've gotten all the tutelage they can get out of 91. And I think they're going to, and he made a lot of money to tutor those guys. And he's been productive. He's gotten like 4.5, 5 sacks this season. So it's not like he's just been eating up, space. He's been playing well when he's gotten opportunities, but I don't think he's going to want the reduced role that's coming his way next year. Because next year, there's no excuse for Montez Sweat to not be playing 90% of the snaps like Chase Young is right now. There's no excuse for it. So in my mind, I don't think he's going to want to be around when he knows that his playing time is going to be significantly reduced like it was early in the season when he was unhappy. So I think he's gone. As far as Settle is concerned, I think we have one more season of Tim Settle. I'm trying to think, what year did we get him in? I think we got him in the 17 draft, 17, 18, 19, 20. It's either the 17 or the 18 draft. I don't feel like we got him in the same draft as Jonathan Allen. I think it was Allen. So let's go. Allen was 17. Payne was 18. 19 was Sweat and Haskins. So I think we got him in 18. I don't think we got Allen and I remember because we were so upset that we got Settle in the 5th and we drafted Payne in the 1st round. So I'm 1,000% sure we drafted him in 18. So we've got one more year of Settle. So he's not going anywhere. Settle is 18, 19, 20, 21. So we got one more year of Settle. So we don't have to worry. We don't have to cross that bridge. Remember, he and Allen are going to be free agents in the same year if they don't make a move on either one of them this offseason and re-sign them to a long-term extension. Both of those guys will be free agents in the 2021 class. So you don't have to worry about Settle going anywhere this offseason. Kerrigan's gone. Settle will be back. Anderson is gone too. And I don't have a problem with Anderson being gone. I think they actually like this Casey Toohill guy out of Stanford that the Eagles drafted in the 7th round. He didn't make their squad. We signed him in September, and he's been getting snaps for us. That's number 95 who's been showing up on your screen. You're like, who the hell is 95? It's Casey Toohill. So I think they like him. And don't forget, they still have Jordan Brailford, and I think they like James Smith-Williams as well, the 7th round pick out of NC State. So I think Anderson is going to be gone, and they're going to be just fine with him not being back. Got another super chat here from Carlton Bogano Jackson, my man CPJ. Thank you for the super chat. CPJ writes, just stopping to show some love. Just stopping by to show some love, Lou. Appreciate you, brother. I appreciate you, CPJ. Thank you for the love. Greatly appreciate it. Let's get back to a few more comments, and then we'll move on to our final segment of the day, garbage time. So, JP asked, how many coaching changes could we see made after the season? I think it's going to be right around 7, 8 max. That's usually the magic number when you get a bunch of them. Is 8. You usually don't see it go past and eclipse 8. But if Captain Spartan is correct, you could see 9. You know, I think the Chargers are going to move on from their head coach, Anthony Lynn. So let's count them up. Anthony Lynn, I think, is gone in Los Angeles with the Chargers. Let's talk about the coaches that we know about already. So let's remove Anthony Lynn from the list. We'll get to him when we get to the coaches that we think are going to get fired at the end of the season. Let's talk about the guys that already have been fired. Bill O'Brien's gone in Houston. Matt Patricia's gone in Detroit. Dan Quinn's gone in Atlanta. All right, so that's 3 guys right there, 3 jobs, 100% certainty. They're going to be looking for somebody else, even if the interim guys have a shot. Those 3 teams already fired their coaches, and so we know those vacancies will be available at the end of the season. Now let's go to the teams that we think are going to fire the coach. Feel really confident that they're going to move on from the coach that they currently have. Doug Marrone in Jacksonville. Adam Gase with the Jets. And Anthony Lynn with the Chargers. That gets you to 6, okay? Some guys on the fringe, as my man Captain Spartan mentioned. What about, yeah, let's talk about the guys on the fringe. So that's 6 that we think are really shoo-ins to have spots open. Then you get to the guys that we think, are on the fringe. Zach Taylor in Cincinnati puts you at 7. Matt Nagy in Chicago, they're on an ugly losing streak right now, puts you at 8. You have I want to throw the Cowboys in there. I don't think they're going to do anything. But Mike McCarthy in Dallas, Doug Peterson in Philadelphia, it makes it 10. Again, you're not going to see all these guys get canned. I just don't see any way where you got 10 vacancies in one off season. It just doesn't happen. But that's another name to watch. I'm quickly trying to go through the league in my head to see if I'm missing any teams that could potentially be looking to make a change at the quarterback at the head coaching position. I've gone through the entire NFC. Did I name the Lions? I feel like I named the Lions when I said that the teams that already fired their coach. I think I did. So that's 10. I go to the AFC. You're good in that division. You're good in the AFC West. Vic Fangio too, 11. I hope they don't do anything with Vic, but it's another guy you gotta worry about in Denver. Things have not gone well these first 2 seasons. A lot of it not his fault, but that's how it goes in this league. AFC South, I think everybody is good there. We already talked about the Texans and the Jags, and then you go to the AFC North. We talked about Cincinnati already. Cleveland is good. So is Pittsburgh and Baltimore. So 11. You could see upwards of 11 vacancies. I think that number's more around 7, maybe 8 max. I don't see 11. I don't see the Dallas Cowboys doing anything. I don't think the Broncos are going to do anything. I don't know if the Bears are going to do anything. I don't think the Eagles are going to do anything rash right now. And honestly, it wouldn't shock me if the Bengals decided to hang on to Zach Taylor, even though I do think he probably does get the pink slip at the end of the season. So, got another super chat. This one is from Meet the Mets. Thank you for the super chat, Meet the Mets. Greatly appreciate you. Writes, well, y'all didn't get rotisserieized. LOL. Great win, my man. Y'all on the come up. Yeah, you said we were going to get rotisserieized on Tuesday or on Monday night, but unfortunately for us, we were able to hang tough and get the dub. So we're hanging tough with y'all. Y'all set the bar pretty high when you went out and beat Seattle with Colt McCoy at quarterback. We were just following suit, man. That's it. So hopefully we can do what y'all just did and beat the Seahawks in a couple of weeks, but we got the 49ers in front of us, and that's a big one coming up this week. Captain Spartan says, do you think the Vikings could upset someone in the playoffs? They already beat the Packers twice and have the Saints number in the playoffs. They got to get there first, and I think they're going to miss out on the postseason. Right now they're taking the spot of Arizona. I still think the Cardinals are going to get in. They haven't played well of late, but they're fully capable. They got their 2 Seahawk games out of the way. They got one more with the Rams, and they got one more with the 49ers as well, if I'm not mistaken. They could beat the Rams, even though they haven't beaten the Rams in 5 or 6 straight games, and they can beat the 49ers. And they got the Giants. They got some winnable games, man. We'll see. We'll see what they can do. I think the Vikings are going to miss the postseason. I told you 8-8 when the season started. I didn't think they were going to get to 8-8 when they would start off the season 1-4, but here they are at 6-6, back in the playoffs. I think they're going to miss out at 8-8 though. And to answer your question, you're damn right. If they get in, they're going to be problematic. Absolutely, they are. With their weapons on offense, I don't like their defense, but with their weapons offensively, you're damn right they're a problem if they get in. With Dalvin Cook running the football and Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen outside, yeah, they're a problem. Absolutely. All right. Let's move on and get out of here. Let's get to garbage time. Yes. Got a Thursday night game coming up. It's weird because we didn't have one last week, and we had all these weird games on Monday afternoon, a Tuesday game, and we're going to turn around and have a game tomorrow. It's crazy. One day off, and boom, we're right back to football. Crazy, but I like it. We got Patriots-Rams, a rematch of Super Bowl 53, 13-3 victory for the Patriots in that ball game. A lot has changed since then, but I think Belichick still understands this Sean McVay offense, and he'll be able to slow it down, I believe. I really do. However, this Rams defense is really good, and I think that's the biggest difference now. Is that this Rams defense, I think, is better than the Rams defense that they saw back in 2018 in the Super Bowl. This group here has Jalen Ramsey. That last group did not. And that changes what they can do defensively. Aaron Donald is playing, as he always is, at just a ridiculous level. He's up there, tied for this. He was tied for the lead in sacks with T.J. Watt. I think Watt took the lead. He had a sack against Washington on Monday evening, but he's among the best in the league in sacks again. He's the best defensive tackle in football, one of the best defensive players as always. But he's got help this time around. Leonard Floyd is playing really good football. Michael Brocker's up front. Ibukam and all of those guys are just getting to the quarterback. The Joseph Day guy, forgot his last name. He's got a hyphenated last name, 69. He's playing exceptional football this year. They got a lot of really good football players, and then the secondary has been really stellar. With Jalen Ramsey shining in front and center. So I just think it's a different scenario this time around defensively with this Rams team, and I think they're good enough to not only shut down the Patriots but force them into some mistakes. I think they're going to get after Cam Newton. That whole running thing that he's been doing, that's going to come to a stop in this game. They may force him into 2 or 3 mistakes, and I think they're going to win this football game. I got the Rams. Like someone was talking about the Patriots. I think it was my man Kevin the PRF, talking about Belichick, has he figured it out? No, he's figured out that there are some teams in the league that if they get an opportunity, they got to beat. This isn't one of them. They took advantage of Arizona, got a win there that I didn't see coming. That was an impressive win, but they're not beating this Rams team. Remember, I told you when they beat the Ravens that night, I said they're going to lose to the Texans the next week. I told you that night that they were going to lose the following week, and they did. They're not beating this Rams football team. I don't see it. I'd be shocked if they went to Los Angeles and beat the Rams. I don't see it happening. I think it's a dominant performance by this Rams defense to shut down what I think is a very average at best. And this has been one of Josh McDaniels' best coaching performances as well as the offensive coordinator, because it's one thing when you got Tom Brady, to get the accolades from that. Yeah, okay, cool. It's another thing when you got to take Cam Newton and a bunch of ragtag guys and find a way to get it done, and they've done that. So I got to give credit where credit is due. Josh McDaniels has been outstanding this year. That being said, it stops this week. I'll take the Rams to win decisively in this game, 26-10. I just don't see the Patriots. You know what? That's a little disrespectful. 26-13. I say it's disrespectful, and I give them 3 more points. 26-13 is your final score in that game. Give me the Rams to dominate the Patriots in that ball game. So that's going to do it for me, your man Louie T. I thank you guys for joining me here on the podcast. Look forward to chopping it up with you on Friday when I will give you my picks for the week. We'll have some leftovers from the Thursday night contest, Patriots Rams, and more. We'll see if any more stories crop up, if we have any more rumors that surface that are of note. But in any event, we'll chop it up on Friday and we'll break all of that stuff down and then some. If you're a Washington fan, I look forward to chopping it up with you tonight live for Washington Football Nightly. If you are not going to be in attendance for that, hopefully you'll chop it up with me on Thursday night overtime of Patriots Rams. If not, hopefully I'll see you back here on Friday for the podcast. Either way, I'm your man Louie T. Thank you for joining me. If you haven't already done so, as I always urge you guys to do here on this podcast, make sure that you subscribe to the Louie T Network. Turn on that notification bell so you don't miss a thing. And also, make sure you hit that like button. If you haven't already done so, I need your support. So hit that like button. I see 133 viewers, only 40 likes. Let's get it to 50, Let's get it up to 50 if we can. So if you're out there, you haven't hit the like button, go ahead and do your man Louie T a huge solid. Hit the like button. That being said, I'm going to glide to the side and allow you to enjoy the rest of your evening. Again, if you're a Washington fan, I look forward to seeing you tonight, 8:30 p. for Washington Football Nightly live. Until then, I'm your man Louie T. This has been the Louie T Network podcast. See you next time.